Ho ho ho! This is the start of it. We have literally introduced the new character on the block. Cyril. I can't even pronounce his second name, so I'm not even going to try. Cyril from Renault. Now, ladies and gents, like I'm talking about the tension, we've now been introduced to Cyril in episode 2. Now, Cyril and Christian Horner in Red Bull, this is where it really now the tension starts to mount up in Drive to Survive, and you will be fucking hooked to Drive to Survive when you see Christian and Cyril going at each other. Peter. Walsh. Hey, ladies and gents, welcome back to the show. So it's Netflix, Drive to Survive, Formula 1, Season 1, Episode 2. So guys, before we get kicking off here, some of you are obsessed with Drive to Survive, and for those of you who have not seen it, okay? The first couple of these episodes, they can be a little, I wouldn't even say slow. I would say more the warm-up to when the real drama fucking explodes. And it's great, guys, because we're now on episode 2, and I mean, it's still very, very enjoyable. Do not get me wrong at all. It's just the tee-up. Like, guys, the tension is fucking building in these episodes already. We're only on even fucking episode 2 of season 1. It's just fucking fantastic. But if you are watching it, and, you know, I don't want to lead anybody astray here either, you know what I mean? Because I like to be fair to you guys, and I'm not just saying this, oh, it's so good, so then you'll keep listening to me. No, not at all. I mean, the bottom line here is, everybody that's seen it, they think it's fucking brilliant. The tension, the drama, the moaning, the bitching. But it's just the first few episodes are, like I said, I suppose that little, not even slow. Do you know what it is? It's only until you see when the real tension and the bitching starts within sort of episode 3 and 4 on. Then comparing those to episode 1 and 2, it's a whole new ball game. It's a totally different story. So, but they're still really good, guys. And I want to point that out because I'm pointing out some of the things that they're saying in episode 1 and 2. And as I'm watching them, right, I want you to remember, if you can, some of the moments. Like even in episode 1 we reviewed, where Christian Horner at the end, he's in Australia with Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo finishes, I think it was 5th again if memory serves me, but he didn't get on the podium, but he finished, you know, a decent enough result. It was 4th or 5th anyway. And at the end he was actually kind of happy enough, even though he wasn't jumping up and down for joy, Christian Horner, but you could see he said, well, oh, Daniel, you know, great race, well done. And you can obviously see all the Australian fans of you, and Ricciardo being Australian, you can see him, Christian is kind of a bit excited for Daniel Ricciardo. And Christian is happy that the car was fairly quick. It showed some race pace anyway, which is good for them, right? At least it gives them hope, because it was only round 1. And then Ricciardo goes, well, actually, yeah, and I didn't think the car would be that quick. Now, check that out, guys, because see, episode 1 and the one we're about to talk to now have hints and elements of what's about to fucking explode in the next few episodes. And if you go back to episode 1 and you see Christian Horner's face absolutely change and his heart just dropping to the floor, heart shattered into a million fucking pieces when Ricciardo says this, it tees up the rest of the season, guys. It's so good. It's so fucking juicy, like, I'm telling you. It's amazing. And it's just so weird because I don't understand why Christian Horner is getting this upset. Like, Daniel Ricciardo is not saying anything wrong. He's just stating the truth. The car wasn't that quick yet. It's not like he was saying, fuck you, Red Bull, fuck you, Christian Horner, you're pathetic, or, you know, you're a bunch of dickheads. No! But anyway, so that's episode 1, guys. So let's get on to episode 2, because again, this is another one now where everything starts teeing up for the big fucking showdown, especially between Cyril and Christian Horner. We'll talk about that more in a little while. So episode 2, I think, is really good. Now, right at the start of the episode, they show Carlos Sainz in the Renault. He's driving for Renault at the time. And they show Carlos training in the gym. And now, okay, they don't show that much training of what they do, but at least you see Carlos, he's pushing weights, and, you know, they're heavy weights, and he shows them that he is lifting heavy weights with dumbbells, right? Bench press. I think, is it bench press? Yeah. And it just gives you a good idea, well, a bit of an idea. So I suppose the icing on the cake of an idea of how much training is involved in motor racing, guys. I mean, the amount of training I had to do when I was in Formula Ford, Formula 2000, and then going to Palmer Audi in Formula 3. I mean, you have to sacrifice every single day. You've got to be training. Like, for me at that level, I had to be training at least 2 hours a day. Now, these guys, the G-force of Formula 1, I mean, these guys, they should be in the gym 4 hours a day, maybe 3.5. But at least if they do it consistently. And what I like about it too is that, you see, what a lot of people don't know, and it probably makes sense though, is that in the pre-season, so before the season, that's when the heavy workload of your training you have to commit to. Like, you've really got to work on your body pre-season, 2 or 3 months before the racing season begins. So even like now, guys, we're in December 2023 here. The Formula 1 2023 season's over, but the drivers, no doubt they'll take a bit of a break for Christmas and all that. Of course they will. But at the end of the day, they'll be jumping back into, like, they'll be training every day here, right? They might have taken a week, maybe 2 weeks off for a holiday straight after the last race, maybe. But they'll be back into the gym again, and, you know, they'll probably be even doing fucking exercise anyway on their holiday, because you have to. Now, if they're doing it just after the last race, they've got some time, and if they don't want to train, they probably won't. But, like, really now, I would say after Christmas Day, probably around, well, 26th on, they'll start getting into their fitness again and really pushing. They might take New Year's Eve off, have a couple of drinks, yeah. But from then on, for the next 2 months, it's just solid fucking training. And you can see that Carlos Sainz, he's got his trainer there, and they're discussing what he should do here and this and that. And that's a part of the pre-season build-up for your exercise to get your body into that physical peak fucking condition. And you can try and build upon and get your fitness better during the season, but that's not the time to be doing it. Now, they always say the best physical training you could get in a Formula 1 car, or any car itself, and probably most sports, is actually doing the sport itself. So in other words, if the drivers showed up for the race on a weekend and they're doing a 2-hour Grand Prix race, well, I mean, that's great exercise, right? Because they're doing a long endurance in the race, in the car, and they're working it, they're getting fit and things like that. Now, you want to be fit before you get into the fucking cars, first of all. But at least, like, if they're really wanting to keep their training ticking over in the season, that's when they do it. So really, when they're racing the car, they can't treat the training, the racing in the 2-hour race like it's their training. That's just keeping it up. You know what I mean? And they're also losing body weight as well, so they're not able to relax as well. So if anything, they're losing weight because they obviously sweat a lot and they're burning it up a lot. But at the same time, they've got to keep it up in mid-season. That's where it's all happening, and their neck is the big part. Even for me, when I was in karts, it was important, but when I got to the racing cars element, that's when you really have to work on your neck strength. Like, neck strength, back strength is huge when you get to Formula 1, any racing cars in general, because you've got a lot of the G-force that you have to contend with, and that can fuck your back. And I even did an episode on that about my back pain after racing. And I mean, guys, I even know 20-year-olds, right, that have back pain who've just started only racing cars, like 20-year-olds. I'm not joking you here. Like, it's no joke, the back pain. So if you don't pre-season get your body in a good position, you are going to struggle. There's no two ways about it. And the two big things is the neck and the back. And if you ever notice, guys, watch Drive to Survive. Pay attention, right? You might see, let's say, a mechanic or an engineer, but check out when a driver's standing next to them, and you'll see the thickness of their neck. Like, my neck was just fucking huge back in the day, and obviously it's a bit weaker now because I'm not doing it anymore. But neck strength is it's number one on your list. It's number one. So the good thing is they do show more of training as the episodes go on. But again, I like that though, that they know that they've got to keep the story going, but they're showing, that they're showing important elements of their training, and we see that now already in episode 2 of season 1, which is great. So, and by the way, like I said, there is more to come. And then I was wondering, actually, when we moved on from the training, they were comparing Alonso to Carlos Sainz. All right, now, okay, they want to do it for the entertainment part of it. I get that, but you can't compare Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso, guys. Carlos Sainz is not a footprint on a skyscraper comparing to Alonso's talent, and I'm serious. And we'll get into that more as we go on. So I like as well in episode 2 where they flash over to 6 months before the season starts, and we're in the McLaren headquarters. And I mean, what I love about it just really goes to show. They show Zach Brown, the team boss, who still is the team boss, and they're showing him interview with him, and they're kind of giving you a backstory with him. And what I love about it as well, like the training, right, where they give you a glimpse, I mean, it just goes to show, right, in episode 2 here, the amount of money that the teams spend every year. And you see the headquarters of McLaren, and yet they weren't even winning. They weren't even winning races. They weren't even getting podiums in that season. They were like at the back of the fucking grid. They were mid-grid. They were struggling. But yet, if you look at like you'll see in episode 2, you see the headquarters. Unbelievable. Like, just unbelievable how big it is. It looks like NASA, the way they've got the place laid out. It's incredible. It really is. And Zach Brown says as well, he quote, "Alonso is one of the best ever." I have to agree with that. He is 100% correct on that one. Alonso, really, he's in the top 10, top 15 of all time. Top 10 may be a stretch, but top 15 certainly. I mean, when guys, you could see it on YouTube when he took on Schumacher back in the day, when Schumacher was utter dominance, and Alonso went after him in 2 years in a row, and Alonso wins the championship 2 years in a row against Schumacher for 2 years in a row. It was an incredible result. It was an unbelievable performance for him to go up against Schumacher at his best in a Benetton. I mean, unbelievably impressive. Unbelievably impressive. So then when we moved on, they flashed into then the winter testing. I love that too, guys. I'm really excited to talk about that too with you. The winter testing. I've said in a few episodes already about the importance of testing, the importance of practice, the importance of it's the backbone of it's the backbone of your year. People don't see the true importance of practice, and why would you? Because you're only watching the real, I suppose, the juicy parts at a race weekend, which is totally understandable. I'm not normally, like, I'm obviously the ex-racing driver and I'm watching the Formula 1, but I know it myself. The practice isn't, oh my god, it's unbelievably exciting. Of course it's not. There's nothing at stake. But it really does, guys. They go into a little bit, and then Alonso has an off. They're at Barcelona in Spain. Alonso, it looks like he's having a spin on his own, but he's actually not. His wheel comes off the car, the back. I think it was the back right. The back right. And he goes off into the gravel. Now, I think it was Will Buxton or somebody else was the voiceover for this episode, and they were saying, "Oh, this is not good. They're going to be scared for the season." Well, no, not right now. Not right now. Because I'll tell you this. If they were the quickest out there, and if they knew they were really going to be fucking fast this year, they wouldn't have worried about that crash. It's like, seriously, they wouldn't have worried about that crash. Because they're like, oh, that's alright, we're up to the top of the grid. Now, it definitely will impact them more, as in they'll take it more, I suppose, personally, and they'll lose a little bit of heart a little bit more. But worried? Absolutely not. I mean, teams don't freak out at winter testing. Because this is what you want, and this is what you want to happen before the start of the fucking year. Like, the last thing you want is you rock up to the race weekend and that fucking accident happens. You want those things to go wrong at winter testing, because then okay, we've got a chink in our armor here, boys. We need to fix this. So then at least they can work on it, improve it, and get it done for when it really, really matters for the result. It was in race-wise, result-wise. So the teams aren't going to be worrying. Now, of course, if this shit keeps happening where Alonso goes out or any other driver goes out in his car and every time he gets on the track, his tire fucking flies off, well then, alright, if it's consistently happening, the teams are going to be fucking start freaking out now. And the winter testing mainly it's a full day. So you've got again, it can be different for different tracks, but normally it's from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You've got the whole day to yourself. You can do as many laps as you want. And again, this is the normal standard procedure for practice days, guys. Some will be different. But you got 9 to 5, unlimited amount of laps. And there's a lot of teams that will do a lot of laps. Like, they might even do a Grand Prix distance. So in other words, if Barcelona is a 70-lap race, let's say, they'll do a 70-lap stint, because they need to know, and this is where winter testing is very, very important too. At least you can get an idea, unless you've got a mechanical problem happen, if your car stays in one piece in testing, you can do a 70-lap race distance, and at least you're getting an idea of what your tires are going to be like at the start of the race with the fuel load. You can get an idea of what it's going to be like if you do a 1-stop strategy, a 2-stop strategy, or even a 3-stop strategy. So it's very, very important for them to do these type of race distances, and the driver should be fit enough because he's done his pre-winter testing. But again, look, even if he's working on it now, well, doing a pre-season race distance is certainly going to get him up to speed anyway. But, I mean, you're going to hope now, if you're the team, you're going to hope that the fucking driver is up to speed before he gets in the car anyway. Which, look, let's be fair, most of them are anyway. But, it's very, very important. And if you're going to have mistakes in the car, this is where you want them to fucking happen. Do you have engine problems? Good. I want them to happen in testing. Do I have fuel problems? Good. Let's happen in testing. Do you have fucking tire problems, chassis problems? Good. Let's have them happen in fucking testing. Because we don't want to rock up and have them happen and sacrifice points in a race. So, as important as we know the race is, because you get points, the practice is very important too. And there's no points up for grabs, but this is what gets you to the race, your practice. So very, very important. And I like the way they now have, and guys, if we're talking about the tension and drama, this is the start of it. We have literally introduced the new character on the block, Cyril. I can't even pronounce his second name, so I'm not even going to try. Cyril from Renault. Now, ladies and gents, like I'm talking about the tension, we've now been introduced to Cyril in episode 2. Now, Cyril and Christian Horner in Red Bull, this is where it really now the tension starts to mount up in Drive to Survive, and you will be fucking hooked to Drive to Survive when you see Christian and Cyril going at each other. So in fact, I even forgot, because I've seen the whole Drive to Survive before. I've seen it, I think, twice, but I don't remember every scene, but I just forgot that Cyril was in episode 2, and I went, oh Jesus, here he is. So we've been introduced to the second main character, let's say, of season 1. So guys, wait until you get into what happens with these two boys. It's great. And I'd say maybe some of you are probably wondering, we do get introduced as well to Carlos Sainz's manager. Now, what does a manager do in Formula 1? Now, it's not like acting, where an actor now would have a agent, and then they'd have a manager. So in acting, you'd have an actor who'd have the agent. The agent will get them jobs. And then the manager will just manage his day-to-day activity, right? That would be an actor. Where a race driver is a little different. Now again, it depending, because some drivers will treat their manager like their manager. Some drivers will treat their manager like their agent and manager. Or they just call, or some other drivers will call their manager, but it's really their agent. So it all just depends, but so it's a bit different. It's not like acting here now where it's, you know, just like agent's an agent, manager's manager. No, not like that. So we will see more what he does, but normally, again, I'll go with the option of the manager will be a multifunctional person. So the manager will spend a lot of his time with his driver, obviously. He'll be there at most race weekends, and he should be there at race weekends. And the manager will normally go and get you a deal. So it's kind of like being the actor's agent, where the actor's agent will get him the next movie or TV program. Now, the Formula One manager will go get his driver, okay, I'm going to try and get Peter now into Ferrari for next year. I'm at Renault, but I want to get my boy into Ferrari next year. He'll start talking, he'll try and talk to Fred Vassar at Ferrari, right, and say, look, Fred, you know, can we have a sit down here at the weekend, have a cup of coffee? And then they'll talk about what they can do, and if Fred Vassar says, yeah, I'm interested, then the manager will come along, try and negotiate the deal. Well, look, our quote is 5 million. You give us 7 million for 2 years, boom. And then the manager will organise the deal, get the best out of the job. Normally a manager will get about 10% to 15% of the driver's salary. So if Peter's walking into Ferrari next year on a 10 million wage, well then the manager is going to get the 10-15% of that negotiated deal. So it's always in the manager's interest to get the most amount of money. So it's a great thing for the driver because, hey, I know my boy's got my back here. He wants me to get as much money for me because he makes more money as well. So it's a tough, very, very tough job to do, because at the end of the day, you got to be likable. You got to be a good salesman. You got to be confident. And if these guys don't get on with teams, you're fucked, because it's the same teams over and over again. So this doesn't really happen anyway, but and I think a lot of Formula One teams anyway will still go, okay, this guy Peter's manager, he's a dickhead, but look, I'll talk to him, okay? But they're not going to do you any fucking favors either. So it's very, very important for the manager to be likable, get on with people around the paddock. And in fairness, they know this. So even when they come into Formula One, or they're trying to get their boy into Formula One, they know this already. They're going to be respectful. They're going to treat them with the utmost respect, decency, be nice. And, you know, if you don't, oh dear God, you're going to have a fucking hard time in Formula One. And even your driver's going to get rid of you after a while, because you're not doing your driver any favors, and the driver's going to fucking know that. So the manager's job, very tough. He's got to be there all the time. He's got to be keeping an eye on things. And even if like sponsors as well, like, right, like in other words, personal sponsorship. So you've got like teams where, let's say Petronas with Mercedes, or no, even let's call it Red Bull. Red Bull being the main sponsor of the Red Bull team, right? It's not, as we all know the energy drink Red Bull, but Red Bull are paying so much money that the team is now called Red Bull. So it's not like Red Bull have decided to make energy drinks and, oh, we're going to build chassis in Formula 1 cars too. No, they've just created their own division of Red Bull, and they're calling it Red Bull, if you know what I mean. The Christian Horner, all these guys, they've created their own team, but then Red Bull have come along and they've just branded it all under the Red Bull wing. So you'd still have people from Red Bull in the team as well. So that would be the team sponsorship. And of course, drivers would have those badges and stickers on their helmets, their suits, their car, etc. But then you've got also your own driver, and this is where the manager comes in. The manager will, so for instance, like Schumacher, he had this, Michael Schumacher, this was one of the biggest sponsorship deals of all time. I think it was Willie Weber, Michael Schumacher's agent back in the day. Probably the greatest manager slash agent of Formula One of all time. Probably. He was unbelievable what kind of deals he got Schumacher. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And he got the sponsor Dekra, D-E-K-R-A, for Schumacher back in the day. I mean, I think it was like, I mightn't be right about this one, guys, but I think it was like just 10 million alone a year just to have it on Schumacher's baseball cap. And I think he had a couple of stickers on his suit, maybe, his visor, but that's all we're talking. And then Schumacher would walk around with a t-shirt of Dekra or something, crazy. But huge money, huge. So there's a lot of that going on as well. And you gotta have the right manager behind you. And you gotta have him looking after you as well. Like, for instance, the other part of it too, Willie Weber back in the day, he saw Schumacher, he found him, he discovered him, let's say. And Willie Weber took a gamble on Michael Schumacher. He brought Schumacher along. In fact, he was paying for Schumacher's racing. Now, this is the story goes, and it's a well-known story, but maybe it's a bullshit story, but I don't think so, the way it's so well-known. And it doesn't matter, it happens all the time. But anyway, he paid Schumacher's way along, and he made a contract with Schumacher to say, right, listen, I'm going to pay for your racing here. If you get to Formula One, for the rest of your life in Formula One, whatever money you make, I get a percentage of it. Now, it can be a tough pill to swallow, but most drivers will fucking take that deal any day of the week, because at the end of the day, a lot of drivers don't have the money to get to Formula One, so you need someone to bring you along. And Willie Weber did that deal. So Willie Weber is the man probably shits money. It's incredible. It's insane how much money he made with Schumacher back in the day. I mean, I think Schumacher would be, I wouldn't say billionaire, but he would, I'd say about 500-600 million he probably scooped up when he was with Ferrari, just alone. And then you've got your personal sponsor. The list goes on and on and on and on, guys. Okay, so moving on, right? In episode 2, it was quite entertaining because we're going to see more of this as well as the season goes on. We saw Verstappen and Ricciardo have a collision. Now, did you see it, guys? They were at Azerbaijan, the Baku Formula 1 street track. And Verstappen is going down the main straight. He's ahead of Ricciardo. Ricciardo's just right behind him, up his ass, okay? And they're going down the main straight. They're competing for the position. Ricciardo's climbing all over the back of him. And Verstappen is weaving pretty aggressively. Now, when I say aggressively, if that was another team and it was a driver, wouldn't worry about it. But considering it's his teammate, I mean, there is certain things, I know this from racing. Team owners are not fucking happy when racing drivers take each other out. They're not fucking happy. In fact, no one in the fucking team is happy when this shit happens. It's a big fucking no-no. You can hate your teammate. You can beat him over and over again. Whatever you want to do. But on the racetrack, that is one big hell of a no-no. You do not take your teammate out of the race. Yes, you do race with them and you defend your position, of course. But there was no need for Verstappen's aggression there. I mean, he was shutting the door hard on Ricciardo. It's your teammate, man. You're gonna get in fucking trouble. And Ricciardo was trying to weave as well, and all of a sudden Verstappen, I think, was braking for the corner, and then Ricciardo was just up his ass, and then he goes into him. Who was to blame? It's hard to know who was really at fault. I would probably angle towards Verstappen more. Verstappen was weaving now like fucking crazy. Now, he wasn't bumping Ricciardo off the track, but he was certainly making it hard for him. And even if Ricciardo did go up the inside, the way Verstappen was so aggressive, probably a very good chance of Verstappen would have crashed into the side of him the way he was. So there was no need for that either. Now, technically, Verstappen didn't do anything wrong either. It's just a big no-no. It's frowned upon, you could say, that you don't fuck around with your teammate like that. But as the racing goes, as in who's technically wrong, there was actually no one wrong. Now, Ricciardo could have just gone on the outside, let Verstappen do his fucking stupid shit in the inside, and just kept a bit of a gap too. Now, then again, he's behind, so Verstappen is the guy controlling how much tightness there is between them. So, if anything, I would say it's a racing incident. If you had to blame somebody, which I wouldn't go that far, I would just be saying, hey, Verstappen, buddy, what the fuck are you doing getting so aggressive with your teammate? What are you doing, buddy? We don't want this shit, okay? Boys, I don't want you to take you out of the race. And guess what? The two of them took each other out of the fucking race. If there's anybody to blame, I'd probably go 60% Verstappen, 40% Ricciardo. So it's almost 50-50. So, yeah, guys, it's... I would put it into a racing incident, though. But again, it just goes to show, guys, here we go with the start of the tension. It's great. It's fantastic. And Carlos Sainz, the rally driver, Carlos Sainz Jr.'s father, Carlos Sainz Sr. they call him. And we don't know much about him, of course, in the series. But he, I mean, guys, if you're into rally, you know who Carlos Sainz is. I've no doubt if you are into it. He is a legend of the rally sport. Absolute no doubt about it. The balls, he had brains, 2-time world champion. He's one of the greatest of all time. It's unfortunate his son isn't. But look, Carlos Jr. got very lucky. And it happens a lot of times with motor racing. If your dad is a known guy, well then hey, you can't blame Carlos Sainz Jr. for that. Fuck no. You'll take advantage of that. And you should take advantage of that. So I certainly wouldn't blame Carlos Sainz Jr. for being where he is right now. But it is down to his dad. And his dad is just such a... Well, he's one of the GOATs of rallying. He was amazing. Honestly, guys, you should check him out on YouTube because... Jesus. I even remember, I was never into rallying that much. But wow, I knew of him. And just... Awesome. And there's two other things here, guys, as well. They're flashing over to where Hamilton, Alonso, some of the drivers, they're doing a bit of karting, and Alonso's explaining that his best memories of racing was when he was karting, and I can relate to him a bit quite to that as well. I can, absolutely no two ways about it. And he's saying that karting is freedom, and you know, it almost gives me goosebumps when I hear him say that, because every time I sit into a kart, it is pure freedom. It is like escaping the world. Now, some people kind of laugh at that because they're like, hang on a second, you're doing like 100 mile an hour, 200 mile an hour in a car or a kart, whichever it is, and you're relaxing. And it genuinely is, guys. It's almost like our break from reality. You go into a completely different world. It's just you out there. You're talking to your race engineer, sure, on the radio, but still, it's just you out there. And okay, if it's the other drivers too, it's a chance to relax, recuperate, get your thoughts, get away from everything. It's kind of like a mini holiday. Of course, there's pressure involved too, but you know, it depends on the scenario as well. And I mean, it really, guys, if you've never gone karting, I certainly hope everybody out here is listening to this has done karting before, but you should go. You'll have some fun. Get down to the indoor karting track or the outdoor karting track where you are right now. Go have some fun, have a laugh, paint the town red afterwards, and even, why not? And we'll leave it with this, guys. This is really good. Now, here again is another hint of how the season unfolds with all the drama, bitching, gossip. They're at Barcelona track, and just before the race, you have Roman Grosjean, who's driving for Haas. Now, Grosjean is known to be a bit of a crasher in the car. In other words, he just can't get around a corner without fucking crashing into somebody. Very frustrating for him, very frustrating for the teams, and it's kind of embarrassing. You don't want to be known as a crasher, believe you me. You don't want that fucking... And even around the paddock, guys, you get a flash into what people do and how they bitch. It flashes over to a team mechanic, and he says to somebody, goes, I think, did he say, put money on it, or he says, guarantee Grosjean does not pass to get out of turn one, because he's going to crash, right? And he's kind of laughing. What happens? Grosjean has a crash in turn 1, he's out of the race, and then they flash back to your man, and they're like, yeah, he just said he's not going to get out of it. But this shit happens, guys. I mean, and it's fucking embarrassing if this happens to you, like. Do you know what I mean? People talk in the paddocks. Whether it's karting, Formula Ford, Formula 2, Formula 1, it just goes to show you. And if you're a crasher, that's as embarrassing as going up on stage at your school concert naked, and every kid is standing there laughing at you, and all of a sudden you'll never hear the end of it. It's that bad, guys. It really is. You don't want to be nicknamed the crasher. And unfortunately for Grosjean, he lost his confidence. And then when he knew that people were getting to know him, well, fuck me, that makes everything way worse. Jesus. But yeah, again, but the good thing for us watching, guys, it's a flash into what's about to come on Drive to Survive, baby, because... oh Lord, we're very close, ladies and gents. I can't wait to start talking about the gossip in the next few episodes. It's going to be awesome. So guys, we're going to leave it there today. And check it out, guys, if you haven't seen Netflix Drive to Survive, or you can follow along with me, see what you think, or if you're interested to know, I'll be doing breakdown of every single episode. We've started off with episode 1 already. Now this is episode 2, and we'll be back again very soon with episode 3 of season 1. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Peter.
Walsh.